I got it. Oh, I was going to do party board. I was going to do wood. Party, ready? Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to go ahead and call this regularly scheduled January 8th Commission meeting to order. I have one slight change on the agenda as it was published. We're going to pull the proclamation off of tonight's agenda until the family can get here to do that with us. And in its place, we're going to ask Chair McGraw, not just yet, but we're going to ask her to come up with that agenda item and give us an update about the school scores at Thessaloniki. Welcome, Chair McGraw. We appreciate you being here tonight. That's the only change that I have. I have a motion from Commissioner Bard, second from Commissioner Mazon. Any questions or comments on the motion on the floor from the dais? Public comments or questions on the motion on the floor? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passes unanimously. We're going to invite Pastor Ralph Williams of the Newberry Church of Nazarene, a plant church, who has just joined us in this community to give tonight's invocation. If you would please rise for the invocation and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pastor Ralph.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. Nice. May we pray. Father, we thank you this evening for the opportunity that we have to take part in the temporal affairs of your work in creation. Recognizing that creation is restorative in nature, we pray for wisdom and guidance. We approach the task with a certain amount of fear and awe because it's amazing that you've entrusted human beings with that task. So with that in mind tonight, Father, I pray that you would give this group clarity. I pray that you would give them vision. I pray that you would give them patience. And above all, Father, give us all charity. We thank you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Commissioner Clark.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor Ralph. Those of you who don't know, Pastor Ralph has been a very consistent member of the Newberry Ministerial Association. He never misses a meeting, and we appreciate that level of commitment. That's going to move us to new item one, which will be an update from Chair McGraw. You want to come down here and tell us? I know there's some maybe some school closings, some grades that came out. You could probably talk for an hour, but just give us a little bit of what's going on.
Okay, and good evening to each of you, Mr. Mayor, and to all of the commissioners serving here in Newberry. I am so delighted and happy to have this opportunity to come before you tonight. I am Diane McGraw, the chair of the Alachua County School Board, and just want to share some updates, but also share the great news and the progress that's being made in Alachua County Public Schools. So I first want to share our news release, which states a majority of the local elementary schools currently in school improvement, or what we call SI or turnaround status, boosted their grades this year, according to a report released this morning, several mornings ago, by the Florida Department of Education. Alachua Elementary went from a D to a C. Idlewild Elementary went from a D to a C. Terwilliger went from a D to a C, and Lake Forest from an F to a D. But all of the schools increased their grades under the state's revised accountability system, which this year was based on a new test and new cut scores from those tests. In fact, the state is referring to this year's grades as informational baseline grades. Two other SI schools, Shell and Rawlins, maintained their grades, while Metcalf fell from a D to an F. However, that grade will not affect Metcalf's current SI status. Because of the testing changes, the new grading system for this year does not reflect student gains. That's changes from year to year, which are typically a significant element of school grades. No negative consequences shall result from these grades, as they are purely informational, according to the Chancellor of the Florida Department of Education, Adam, in an email to all Florida superintendents. However, a school may receive the benefits of these grades in terms of qualifying for school recognition and or excellent turnaround status. Alachua, Idlewild, and Terwilliger will all move out of SI, which is state improvement status, as a result of these new grades, while Lake Forest will have an opportunity to 2024 to make their grade. It is important to recognize the hard work and commitment of our school leaders, faculty, staff, families, district personnel, our community partners, and everyone involved in our schools. That's from Superintendent Andrew. This was a team team effort, and we look forward to continued improvement of all of our schools. So overall, 11 Alachua County Public Schools boosted their grades this year, 4 dropped, and 20 remained the same, with 22 earning an A or a B. The district's overall informational baseline grade for 2023 is a B. And so, as you know, we had 7 SI schools, but out of the 7, 3 came out. And so we are at the point now, we have hired an external operator, which you had 3 choices, in order for a school to either they could close, either you could bring in an external operator, and so we chose the external operator so that we have an opportunity. They did make the improvement, F to D, but of course we want to get out of the D status. And so that external operator hopefully will come on board in the next 30 to 60 days. They will be working and they will have a chance to bring the school up. But at this point, we had Mr. Andrew has done an excellent job with making changes within our for Chief of Instruction and Curriculum, where people are coming around to your schools, they're walking through the schools, they're supporting our principals, and we're looking at helping and working with one another so that we can make sure we have good success for all of our students in Alachua County. If you have any questions at the end, I'll be glad to ask any questions about that. But I also want to let you know schools will be closed tomorrow. And they also will be closed for our children on Teachers' Work Day is on Friday. And so just make sure you let your family members, everybody, we want to make sure our families are safe. So that's why we're closing school tomorrow. Also, we have a workshop, a meeting on Thursday regarding rezoning at 6 o'clock. So if you want to be involved in that, please come and attend that meeting as well. But I do thank you.
Downtown?
Yes, the meeting will be downtown. But if you have any questions, other than that, great things are happening.
Well, first,
in
we want to
Alachua
say
County.
thank you for coming out and giving us that update. That we really do appreciate hearing straight from the school board. And I think it is important, as we talked about to some of your fellow colleagues, to we're not going to turn everything around overnight. We're making steady progress. We're making steady gains, and we got to celebrate that. Anybody have any questions about the school grades? And guys, there's a whole new test, a whole new metric that we're all trying to figure out, and they do that to us about every 2 years.
Yeah, it's a separate category now,
That
especially
goalpost,
for third grade. You're looking at proficiency. So there's a separate category, and so we have to be on our P's and Q's, and so that's why it's important that we have the support coming into our principals and coming into all of those who are our teachers. They need the support, and that has not been happening, and that is, and your mayor can tell you that, he's been in the schools for quite some time, but also we've had 8 superintendents in the last 10 years. You had one person serve twice, and you can't make progress overnight, as you said. And as a volunteer, I'm 54 now. I was 22 when I started volunteering in Alachua County Public Schools, and it's not going to happen overnight, but I can tell you the movement in our school grades has not happened since 2016, and now it's happening. But if you keep changing superintendents, that's not stability. Your staff, that's not good for your staff. That's not good for your students, especially after a pandemic and where we are now. Okay?
Well, thank you again,
Thank
Madam
you.
Chair.
Thank you.
The manager and I will get with Superintendent Andrew. We'll set up, we'll see if we can find some time for that
Yeah,
joint
because we're
meeting.
trying to
Appreciate
make it
you doing
around
that.
to
Yeah.
all of the surrounding municipalities. To be
All
great
about
to me.
communication,
Yes.
right?
Okay.
Absolutely.
Thank
Well, thank you for making
Thank
the drive
you.
out. Stay safe tomorrow in that storm.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, now we get to come to what is one of the more exciting moments every year. I look forward to this in January. Mr. New, tell us about this year's Employee of the Year.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think there's a slide or two that we're going to follow along. Maybe, Janine, if you could keep up with me. Mr. Mayor, I'd like to recognize our 2023 Employee of the Year. Maybe I should just get the
clicker.
not sit. Maybe just stand up and introduce all this. Come on.
Is it on?
Am I the first guy up tonight?
First guy that's used the clicker.
There you go.
There we go.
Thank you. As the mayor indicated, we're going to recognize our Employee of the Year. First item, and she joins us tonight, is Nikki Keller, who works in our building department. Nikki's been with the city for just a little over a year now, about a year and a half, and in a year's time, year and a half time, she's made some significant contributions to the city. When she hired in, she didn't possess, at least to my knowledge, any of the certificates for training in the building department, and she's since obtained a permit technician 1 and a building permit technician 2, both accomplishments, and she knocked them out in pretty short order. But more importantly, what she's bringing to our building department is she really takes customer service to heart, trying to make sure that everybody that walks in she's listening to their problems and trying to help them get them solved, because what often happens is the people in the community that have a need, they're not in the industry and they just use the wrong terminology. And that seems to be a strength of Nikki's, is hearing what they're saying and being able to convert it into building department lingo and get them pointed in the right direction, getting a lot of positive feedback.
That's really impressive. I've been doing this for 12 years, and I still can't convert building department lingo into regular speak. So in a year, good job.
And to speak to just that item a little bit later, you'll be considering an amendment to the building code, and I challenge one of you to acknowledge that you understood any of it. No, I'm kidding. But in addition to that, and maybe just a significant project, at the commission's request, we're trying to automate our building permit process. Not a small undertaking. You don't just decide one day to do it. There's 100 softwares to evaluate. There's picking the one that works best with our existing software packages and works best. And so our building department, with Nikki, selected a software package that they thought would be best. And it's been an all hands on deck. But Nikki is the project manager. She's the one that's keeping all the plates in the air, keeping the finance department engaged, keeping the utility department engaged, keeping us moving, hitting our headlines, our deadlines, and most importantly, coordinating with the vendor to make sure that we get the service that they promised. So she's been a real champion for that. I think we are, I would say we're 99% rolled out. We're just working out the last few bugs, but getting tons of positive feedback. On the online side, most of that's coming from our regular builders that now can dump 10 permit applications in on a Sunday afternoon because they had some time in the office, and it'll save them the trip to Newberry or save them the trip down to the building department on a Monday morning. So I'd say that in the middle of all that, we processed right at 230 residential certificates of occupancy in 2023. That's up from, y'all know that we typically are in the 150 range. That's up. It may have been because folks are really trying to push to get ahead of those impact fees that are now in place, but we saw a pretty big uptick in 2023. And so while Nikki's being trained and certified, and while Nikki is spearheading our Let's Automate Our System process, Nikki is also helping the building department process, what looks to be a 40 to 50% increase in building permits. So for all those reasons, Nikki is our Employee of the Year. I'd like to introduce her to the commission.
Come on down. Mike told you have a 10-minute speech prepared.
I was forced into leadership for Smart Gov implementation, so I can give that 10-minute speech to Scott if that's my switching out.
We won't do that to you, but we would love to get a picture. Mike, can I sit on that other side over here? Come on down here, Scott, if you want to, or are you just going to get her to text one later? Oh, all right. Okay. Well, we appreciate you and all that you've done for the city. We'd love if you have anything you'd like to say to the commission, you're more than welcome to impart that. Come on down here, Scott.
And I'm not going to take any credit, but I did recruit her, so.
Yes, you did.
Yes, I did.
Well, it's what happens when you're young and technology is becoming.
You've seen your old Scott.
Yeah.
Nice. I am old.
I don't have too much to say. I mean, I came from a different municipality that was completely different, and I would just have to say the teamwork here is what makes it work. It is. Everybody that I come in contact with, from billing to finance to utilities, because I have to do work orders, I have to do deposits, all that, every single person is nice and helps, and I don't think if we didn't have the teamwork and the existing personnel, it wouldn't be as good of a job. So,
Well, thank you for what you're doing for us. We appreciate you.
not a problem. Thank you.
Congratulations.
I'll just finish with, we had, I believe, 7 nominations this year, and 7 really worthy candidates that all deserve credit for the nomination. And out of that, Nikki was selected as our Employee of the Year, and it just speaks to what a banner year she had for Newberry. And I'd also tell you that getting to know Nikki in the last year and a half, I think that her Employee of the Year is probably also her every year effort. So I would expect that same level of workload, work quality from her. It's just the way it's her makeup, it's in her DNA, and that's what she does every day when she gets to work. So thank you, Nikki. We appreciate you.
She gets
We love it. Yeah, she gets the city manager's parking spot for a year.
Said they're
Yeah.
painting it pink right now.
All right.
And Mr. Mayor, before I conclude, we also did years of service awards. We recognize people on the 5-year anniversaries, and so just a list up there we've got one 25-year recipient, and Lieutenant Joseph Harris in our fire department. And then apparently the rest of the fire department all started work on the same day 20 years ago. So we have AJ, if you don't know Amby by his real name, that's AJ. And then and Futch and Lieutenant Malsum. So those guys, and then you see Brittany in our 5-year, Tammy, Terry, and Tracy. So everybody received a token of appreciation from the city for hitting their years of service award. Mr. Mayor, Scott is in recreation. And, for Scott, it says 20 years, but it feels like 50, if you know Scott. No, I'm kidding. That's me poking fun, and he's not even here to defend himself. Great employee.
Well, Mike, tell all of the employees that we appreciate it. I love how we recognize people's years of service. I think that's a fundamental part of teamwork. Just
Absolutely.
saying, hey, you've stuck with us, and we appreciate that. So thank you again one more time. We appreciate that work ethic and all you're doing to make Newberry great. All right, guys, that's going to take us to public announcements. Ladies and gentlemen, your commission likes to hear from you early and often, so we set aside a public announcements section at the beginning of the meeting, and there'll be another one at the end of the night. If there's something that you'd like to talk to the commission about that's not on the agenda, you have the opportunity to do so now. If it's a little more controversial and you need a little bit more time, you get 5 minutes at the end of the night. You do not have to stay. And no school tomorrow just because mom won Employee of the Year.
Yeah.
Right? They get to stay home, right? So anybody here to wish to speak to the public, or from the public wish to speak to the commission? All right, seeing none, what about consent agenda? I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as was published.
So moved.
I have a motion from Commissioner Martin, a second from Commissioner Clark. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. That takes us to our first public hearing ordinances. This is legislative, so Madam Attorney, would you please read in the record on second reading ordinance 2023-37 into the record?
Absolutely. This is ordinance number 2023-37, an ordinance of the City of Newberry, Florida, adopting the most recent Florida Building Code as published by the state of Florida. Amending City of Newberry Code of Ordinances, Part 2, Chapter 14, Article 2, Sections 14-35 and 14-36, repealing all ordinances in conflict and providing an effective date.
Thank you, ma'am. And is this, Brian, did he leave? No, he's just hiding back there. Ms. Newman, are you leading us through this one? Scott's going to do it. All right. Come on.
His name is on it.
All right. Come on down.
All right, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, this is the second reading, obviously, and I'm here if you have any questions.
So moved. Second.
All right, I have have a motion from Commissioner Coleman, a second from Commissioner Mazon. For the public watching that may have missed the first reading, give us a little bit of background on what they're about to vote on.
Boy, I thought I was going to get off easy. Every 3 years, the building code updates, and this is the year actually went into effect January 1. We're a little behind getting this approved, but it shouldn't be an issue. And what we're doing is we're adopting the 2023 version, and we're also adopting amended Chapter 1 building code.
And this keeps the city of Newberry in line with state ordinances and
Correct.
defers to the state when they supersede our power.
Yes.
All right. Commissioner, have any questions for Scott? Our record presentation giver. Does the public have any questions on the motion on the floor? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Good job. Now that moves us to item 7, which is a Whitehurst future land use map amendment. This is first reading. Madam Attorney, would you please read? And this is legislative ordinance 2024-02/CPA 24-01 into the record.
Absolutely. Mr. Mayor, this is ordinance number 2024-02, CPA 24-01, an ordinance of the city of Newberry, Florida, amending ordinance number 4-91 as amended, relating to an amendment of the future land use plan map of the city of Newberry comprehensive plan, expedited amendment procedures established in sections 163.3184(2) and 3 Florida statutes, and in conformance with section 163.3161 Florida statutes, providing for a change in land use classification, rural agricultural less than, city of Newberry agricultural less than or equal to 1 on certain lands within the corporate limits of the city of Newberry, Florida. Approximately 161. Providing severability, repealing all ordinances.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Uma, you want to take us through this? And for the record, this presentation will stand for the record for the next agenda item? All right.
Yes, please. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, Commissioner. I am presenting Ordinance 2024-02, CPA 24-1, for future land use map amendment from county rural agriculture to city agriculture on a 161-acre land. So amendment of future land use is from agriculture to agriculture, so it's like to future land use map amendment on a recently annexed property on partial number is, I forgot, 02659-000-000. It's a petition by White Trust Cattles, and the partial was annexed on December 11, 2023. This is the location. As we discussed, this is a like-to-like future land use map amendment. There was a one planning commission meeting, planning and zoning board hearing, which was heard on 2nd January 2024. Then there will be 2 commission hearing. This is the first one, and since it's a large scale, it will go to the Department of Commerce for the adoption, and then when it comes back, it will be a legislative hearing. We have the applicant here from CHW, Margot, and she will be there to present.
All right.
Then I will do my conclusion.
Come on down.
Good evening. Thank you for your time. Let's see. I'm Margot Maurer with CHW Professional Consultants. So tonight we are here to hear the large-scale comprehensive plan amendment and rezoning applications for the Whitehurst Cattle Company property. These applications were preceded by application to annex a property into Newberry city limits, and this was approved back in December. So here's an estimated timeline of the entire process going back to the pre-application meeting, which occurred back in August of last year, through staff review, and then the public hearings for annexation in November and December. Last week, Planning and Zoning Board unanimously approved an application for land use and zoning and recommended to transmittal for a state review. And here we find ourselves at the first reading of City Commission, and with an estimated completion and adoption late spring. Okay, so looking at the context, the property is located west of 250th Street and south of Southwest 67th Avenue. As I mentioned, the property was annexed into City of Newberry municipal limits, and tonight we're looking to apply City of Newberry future land use and zoning on the property. The property is about 160 acres of undeveloped land. Abutting properties are generally agricultural and rural in nature, and we are looking to do effectively a like-kind exchange going from county ag to city ag. Here is the existing future land use showing county rural ag as well as zoning. We are proposing city agriculture future land use and city's agricultural zoning on the property. So this concludes my presentation, and I'm available if you have any questions.
Thank you, ma'am. Are there any questions for the applicant? This is real simple, right? They just annexed in, ag to ag. Welcome. Ms. Umi, you got anything you want to?
So staff find the request consistent with the City of Newberry Comprehensive and Land Development Regulation, and we recommend the approval of Ordinance 2024-02, CPA 2401 in first reading.
All right.
Thank you. I'm here for questions.
I can.
All right. Yeah, no questions. I have a motion from Commissioner Martin, a second from Commissioner Maison. Any comments, questions on the motion on the floor from the dais? Public comments or questions on the motion on the floor?
I just wanted to say thank you. I wanted to say thank you for your prayers last month. Laura returned back to work today at the University of Florida, cancer-free. For those of you in the rural area, you would recognize the fact if you had something larger than a cow heart inside your chest, which is what they removed from her. And last Thursday, we were pleasantly informed by her surgeons and her primary care physician that they got everything and they tested all the organs around there and nothing else. Despite 2 readmissions for pulmonary embolisms, we got through that. And also for alleged contaminated blood samples. We got through that. So we spent a lot more time in December. But thank you for your prayers. It is what got us through it. And thank you for treating Margot kindly. When I asked Dr. Diedenbach, I have an applicant here. She's one of your students. And she's like, if you don't hire somebody else, we'll. So get with it. She has already passed her AICP, so she is AICP pending. She has to fill in the amount of time working for us, but we're going to keep her here at the podium and keep her doing great work and keep the city moving forward. So thank you for your time and Happy New Year to all of you.
It's fantastic news about your wife. We are so happy. Tell her on behalf of the whole city of Newberry, we appreciate it. That's great. Any other public comments on the motion on the floor? Seeing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously, and we're going to move into quasi-judicial at this point in time. So I need to read our quasi-judicial procedure into the record. As long as no one new enters the room, I won't read this for the other quasi. So this means the commission is going to stop being a legislative body, become a judicial board, which means we have to follow certain rules and adhere to a different standard of decision-making. The primary rule must follow concerns testimony. The substantial and competent evidence standard must be met when the judicial board makes a decision. The standard states the following, and I quote, all public testimony taken under oath, everyone testifying will be subject to cross-examination on documents and exhibits shall be entered into evidence. Giving opinion testimony is limited to experts. Closing arguments are limited to the evidence of record. I'm going to ask the attorney to please read into the record the ordinance by title only at this time.
Mr. Mayor, this is ordinance number 2024-03 LBR 2404, an ordinance of the City of Newberry, Florida relating to the amendment of the official zoning atlas pursuant to an application, amending the official zoning atlas for the City of Newberry and development regulations, providing for zoning from the Alachua County Agricultural Zoning District, Florida, which have been annexed thereto. Tax parcel number 02659.
Thank you, ma'am. At this point, I'm going to ask the clerk if you would swear in the applicant, staff, and anybody wishing to speak. If you're here to speak to either one, please go ahead and stand up now. We'll swear you in right now, just as a time saver.
State your name for the record.
hereby swear affirm the testimony you give the whole truth.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Before we begin, we need to disclose any ex parte communications and disclose whether any member physically inspected the property. Remember that ex parte communications are any conversations or transmission of information that may have bearing or influence on any voting member's decision. Commissioner Coleman?
None.
Commissioner Clark?
None.
Commissioner Farnsworth?
None.
Commissioner Martin?
None.
Commissioner Mazon?
None.
I'm a non-voting mayor, but I have nothing to disclose as well. I'm going to explain the order of presentation. We're going to follow for every quasi-judicial procedure tonight. First, we're going to hear from the staff with their overview. Then the applicant has the opportunity to make a presentation with no time limit. Then the staff will come back, give their report and recommendation, also with no time limit. Nobody has contacted me to claim third-party intervener status on either quasi-judicial item tonight, so that's going to move us to public comment. Any member of the public here wishing to speak to this agenda item has 3 minutes to do so. Then the applicant, cross-examine staff, and cross-examine members of the decision-making body can ask questions of the staff or the applicant. Then we'll hear final arguments, and the city attorney will advise the decision-making body as applicable law and factual findings that must be made to approve or deny the applications, and we'll deliberate, and after deliberation, the motion will be taken to approve conditions, continue, or deny. Ms. Uma, go right ahead. Give us that overview.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, Commissioner. Uma Sarmishta, Planning and Economic Development. If allowed, can I use the same presentation as the last one? And can I
Absolutely.
instead go to the recommendation?
Let's do it.
So I'm here to present 2024-03 LDR 2404 for rezoning of from county agriculture to city agriculture on 161-acre land. It's again the like-to-like zoning on the land on parcel number 02659-000-000. The petition is by CHW. Owner is Whitehurst Cattles. Planning and zoning heard this on January 2nd, 2024, and it will go through 2 commissioner hearing. Staff find the request consistent with the City of Newberry Comprehensive Plan and Land Development Regulation, and we recommend approval of Ordinance 2024-3 LDR 2404 in the first reading. Thank you. I'm here for any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Uma. Let the record show that staff is submitting the presentation from the previous agenda item. Would the applicant like to do the same thing?
We would.
All right, thank you. That's going to move us to public comment. Any members of the public here speak to this agenda item? You have 3 minutes to do so. Seeing none, did you hear anything you'd like to cross-examine, Ms. Margot? No? Ms. Uma, did you want to cross-examine anything? All right, then we will go to member decision-making body. Do you have any questions of the applicant or staff? Okay, and anybody want to make a final argument? Good. Madam Attorney, would you please advise decision-making body applicable law and factual findings?
I would be delighted to. Your standard tonight is competent substantial evidence is compatible with your land use.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, we'll enter into...
Assistant's got order, Joe.
Perfect. We'll enter into deliberations. If there are no deliberations, I have a motion. I have a motion from Commissioner Mazon, second from Commissioner Martin. Any comments or questions on the motion on the floor from the dais? Any public comments on questions on the motion on the floor? Seeing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. That takes us back into legislative, but I'm not going to read all that stuff back into the record as long as nobody new enters the room. That moves us to item 9. Madam Attorney, would you please read into the record ordinance 2024/04/CPA 24-02 into the record, please?
Sorry. Mr. Mayor, this is ordinance number 2024-0.
That's what I have, yes.
Okay, CPA 24-02, an ordinance of the City of Newberry, Florida, relating to an amendment to future land use plan map of the City of Newberry Comprehensive Plan. One 874 statutes as amended, providing for a change less than or equal to 1 dwelling unit per 5 acres to the City of Newberry. Parcel number 02579-006. Approximately 29 contiguous acres providing severability.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Uma, you want to lead us through the presentation? Same process, they've annexed in. Now we just have
Yes.
to get the ordinances.
That's true. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, everybody. This is Uma from Planning and Economic Development. I'm presenting Ordinance 2024-04 CPA 24-2 for future land use amendment from county rural agriculture to cities agriculture zone FLU on 29-acre land. The property is generally located on Southwest 30th Avenue and east of Southwest 282nd Street. This is like-to-like future land use map amendment. The partial were annexed on December 11, 2023. This is the general location of the property. It is south of Southwest 30th Avenue and east of Southwest 282nd Street. The partials in the request is partial 1 is 02579-005-000, partial 2 is 02579-006-000, and partial 3 is 02579-007-000. Petition is by Herb Marlowe Jr. It's like-to-like, as I said, it is like-to-like future land use amendment. The first Planning and Zoning Board hearing was on 2nd January 2024, which was unanimously approved. This is the first commission meeting, and then it's a small-scale land use change, so there will be no transmission to the Department of Commerce. So the second commission will be just after this. So staff find the request consistent with the City of Newberry Comprehensive Plan and Land Development Regulation, and recommend Sitting Commissioner to approve Ordinance 2024-04 CPA 2402 in first reading. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Umas. Commissioner, have any questions? Okay, if I hear no questions, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
I have a motion from Commissioner Martin, a second from Commissioner Clark. Any comments or questions on the motion on the floor for the dais? Public comments or questions on the motion on the floor? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. That's going to move us on to the next agenda item, which takes us back into the quasi-judicial. I've already read the procedure in, but Madam Attorney, would you please go ahead and read into the record ordinance 2024-05/LDR 24-05.
Mr. Mayor, this is ordinance number 2024-05 LDR 24. The amendment of the official zoning atlas, 29 acres more or less, an application amending the zoning. The official zoning atlas of the City of Newberry Land Development Regulations, providing for rezoning from Alachua County Agricultural Zoning District of the City of to the City of Newberry Agricultural Zoning District on certain. 5-000, 006-000, 7-000, providing for severability, repealing all ordinance.
Thank you, ma'am. Now we've sworn and we've done ex parte and we've read in the ordinance, right? Ms. Uma, go ahead and give us the overview. If the applicant's not present, just slide right into your report and recommendation.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, Commissioner, Mayor. This is Uma Sarmishta, Planning and Economic Development Department. I'm presenting Ordinance 2024-5, LDR 24-5 for rezoning from county agriculture to city agriculture on 29 acre. This is the second step after annexation, so changing zoning destination on recently annexed partial from Alachua County to the City of Newberry Agriculture. It is a like-to-like zoning. Parcel were annexed on December 11, 2023. The property is generally located south of Southwest 30th Avenue and east of Southwest 282nd Street. Partial number 1 is 02579-005-000. Partial number 2 is 02579-006-000, and partial 3 is 02579-007-000. Petitioner is Herb Marlowe Jr. The petition was heard in Planning and Zoning Board hearing on 2nd January 2024. This is the first commission meeting, and there will be a following commission hearing after this. And this is small scale, so it will not go to the state. It will just be rezoned. But rezoning is contingent upon the FLUMA application of CPA 2402. Staff find the request consistent with the City of Newberry Comprehensive Plan and Land Development Regulation, and recommend City Commissioner to approve Ordinance 2405, LDR 2405 in first reading. I'm here for any question. That complete my presentation.
Thank you, Ms. Uma. It's going to move us to public comment. Any members of the public here to speak to this agenda item have 3 minutes to do so. Seeing none, that's going to take us down to members of the decision-making body. Do you have any questions? Okay. Ms. Uma, would you like to make a final argument? All right. Madam Attorney, would you please advise the decision-making body's applicable on factual findings?
Yes, sir. Your standard here is going to be competent and substantial evidence.
Thank you so much. We'll enter into deliberations. If there are no deliberations, I'll have a motion. I have a motion from Commissioner Clark, second from Commissioner Coleman. Any comments, questions, motion on the floor from the dais? Public comments, questions on the motion on the floor? Seeing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. That's going to take us to item 11, which is Planning and Zoning / Historic Architectural Review Board member appointments. Mr. Thomas, you want to take us through? We've had a resignation here, and luckily we have a willing volunteer in the wings.
There we go. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Too quick on that button there. As you stated, we had a resignation. Our current member, former member now, Jordan Fairfield, has announced that he's moving to South Florida, I guess for a new job or something, and so his resignation was effective as of last Tuesday evening after the Planning and Zoning Board meeting. It is. He's a good member. He's a good member. We liked having him on the board. Staff, both from a standpoint of expediency, but also because she has been attending some of the Planning and Zoning Board meetings. She's already familiar with the process. She's been wanting to serve on the Planning and Zoning Board in the past. Staff would recommend that we take the existing Historic Architectural Review Board member, Melina Parker, and elevate her to fill that vacant position, which runs through April of 2025. Staff would then advertise to fill the vacant HARB seat that would be created by her accepting the Planning and Zoning Board HARB seat. And we'd bring back the candidates for that at a later meeting. Therefore, staff's recommended action would be to appoint Melina Parker to fill the remainder of the vacant PZ HARB seat term.
Any questions for staff? I think before you make a motion, we should have her daughter come up and give a presentation gave in class about population growth. It was great, 6 minutes. I'm sure she can do it from memory. We know the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, so if she does it, then her mom's in, right? No question.
No pressure.
Mr. Martin, you were reaching for a more serious comment, I think.
No, I was, good.
Okay. Ms. Parker, why don't you come up and just introduce yourself? I think you talked to the commission because you had applied to be on the P&Z. We only had one seat, but just refamiliarize everybody with your face and name and what you're doing in town. You got a lot of exciting stuff happening.
I do. I'm not going to talk about all of it right now, but I've been on the HARB for about 2 years, almost 2 years now, and I've enjoyed every part of it. So I like being a part of the community and where we're going, and I'm excited to see where that is and to be a part of it, hopefully.
Well, thank you, ma'am. Anybody got any questions for her?
No.
All right.
Casey stepping up.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
We
it
do.
is absolutely my pleasure. I love it. So thank you.
Good. All right, I'll have a motion.
So moved.
I have a motion from Commissioner Martin, second from Commissioner Maison. Any comments on the motion on the, well, you got one more?
I just had to apologize to Ms. Parker. I misspelled her first name up here. It's right on the resolution. It's wrong on the board.
That's the way I would spell it.
Yeah.
Thank you, I'm used to it.
Any comments on the motion before the dais? Public comments, question on the motion on the floor? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passed unanimously. Thank you for your willingness to serve. We appreciate it. And that will take us to our first agenda item, which is Florida Commission on Ethics Form 6, which has been causing so many questions. So anytime we have things that cause this many questions, our traditional response is put it on the agenda. Let's hash it out so we all are on the same page. And then you're going to take us through this. You've done the legwork.
I have done the legwork.
Teach us about Form 6.
I'm going to make it as expedient as possible.
We
I know
appreciate
you all are going to look at these slides and pause for a moment and think that I'm going to read it to you, and I promise I'm not going to do that to you. I wouldn't do that to you.
That's public speaking 101, right? About not reading off the slide, yeah.
I was in Mayor Marlowe's class, it seems. I pay attention. So this year, you're going to have to file a Form 6 instead of a Form 1. That's the big change. As of December 31st, if you were serving, you're going to be required to file it. It's going to be done electronically in your packet. If you look at it online, that link's going to take you to the website wherein you can do it. It went live January 1, 2024. And all of the required disclosures will be published on the Florida Commission's website. They are a great resource. I really can't say enough good things about the people who work there. They're willing to answer any question you have. The number there on the screen, I mean, really stand-up folks, and they're used to these Form 6 questions, so if you have specific circumstance questions, they are really your best asset. On the website, there's a training video, there's a sample Form 6. Miss Judy, I know, sent out to all of you a form in which you can move to have your form redacted in the event that you have a public records exemption. I know I saw that go out last week, I think. And I believe, and I won't misquote her if she wants to correct me, but I think she said she would handle sending it in if you do have one of those forms that you would like to submit to the Commission on Ethics. Did you say that you were going to? Yeah, just the exemption. Yeah, that's what I thought. So when do you have to file? No later than July 1, 2024. For candidates, you're going to have to file during that qualifying period. If you don't, what happens if I don't do it? By September 1st, 2024, you're going to be assessed a fine of $25 per day up to $1,500. Can also result in you being removed from public office. In addition to that, if you fail to disclose, you've got a lot of different ramifications that could result: disqualification from ballot, impeachment, removal from office, fines up to $10,000. You can attach things to support your submission if you want to. You can import a Excel or attach PDFs. Public record is going to be the same thing that Miss Judy sent out to y'all last week. Your social security number, your bank account, your debit, your credit card numbers, all of that is not going to be required and should not be included. In the event that you are an active or former officer or employee listed in one of the sections under 119.071 that lists an exemption for you, you need to file that form that I was talking about with Miss Judy sooner rather than later. It needs to be done before your Form 6, otherwise it's not. They want it in that order. They want your exclusion exemption form, and then they want your Form 6. So what is it going to look like? This is what you're going to be greeted with. You guys are all going to file as I am a filer in that left corner with the little blue piece of paper. Folks running are going to click I am a candidate. You're going to be greeted by this page to log in. You're going to use your city email address. Please note that if you're like me and you forget your passwords for everything, you're going to want to write this down because they're going to make you use the same one for years to come. This is the page you're then going to be greeted with once you sign in. You're going to click on that Form 6 to file your form. It's got to be done by you, your CPA, or your attorney. A couple of things to note on the order of that, and I'm going to get to that in a minute. I do want to flag that myself, Miss Judy, Janine, none of us are able to help you with your specific Form 6. We're able to give you this training, but that's kind of where our ability to help you stops. If you email your link to your CPA or your attorney, your version of the Form 6 becomes read-only. You are not going to be able to edit the information within it. Your CPA or your attorney can subsequently edit the information in it, but once you send that over, your ability to edit it stops. That's something just to keep in mind. And when I spoke to the Commission on Ethics attorney, he did say that attorneys are going to have to enter their bar number, and I think that that is to prevent city attorneys from participating in this. So it's going to be your personal attorney. So what are we going to have to put on there? Assets valued over $1,000. I will say, and I think we get to it later on, that there is, under the statute, a provision that says household goods and personal effects can be lumped all into one. You don't need to list out every piece of china you own that you guys have collected over the years from family members. And then it's got these little FAQs within the system that if you've got something you have a question on how to disclose it, it's going to give you advice on how to disclose it. I will say, as far as online forms go, it's pretty user-friendly in terms of getting the information you need. This is a sample of what you're going to be looking at. I think this is 2022. Yes, 2022's. So you're going to go through your personal information, your net worth, your assets, your liabilities, your income. We're going to get to income here in a second because I know that's been a question in a couple of different cities. Specified business interests. These are only going to be specific
businesses. It's not every business ever, and I'll get to that in a second. You're still going to be required to certify that you completed your ethics training, and you're going to have to sign it. Your net worth, you can do it as of December 31st, 2023, or a more current date, but you have to list that date if you're going to pick a date in between that July 1st and December 31st, retroactive if you're looking back. In order to determine your net worth, you need to total the value of your assets and subtract the amount of your liabilities. So total value of your assets is going to include household goods, personal effects, assets over $1,000. This has been a very big question. You are not required to disclose assets solely held by your spouse. So your spouse, if your spouse has a account in her name solely, that is not going to be on your Form 6. And when we're talking about assets and what we're talking about real property, cash, stocks, bonds. I'm not going to read that whole thing to you. This is going to be kind of a everything but the kitchen sink list of things that are going to be considered assets. The Commission on Ethics instructions include how to describe and value them. Liabilities in excess of $1,000, same thing. You're going to have to list the name and the address of the creditor. They include accounts, notes, interest payable, debts. However, you don't need to disclose any of the following: credit card, retail installments, taxes owed, unless the taxes have been reduced to a judgment. So if you just owe the IRS money versus if they have a judgment against you, for example. Indebtedness on your life insurance policy, contingent liabilities. And then again, there's more instructions on how to do that on their actual form. Primary and secondary sources of income. Primary is going to be, your W-2. Your spouse doesn't need to disclose their income. However, if it's joint income to you and your spouse, you need to include that on the form. Commission on Ethics, again, the instructions include definitions. For the purpose of doing your income, you can attach a copy of your 2023 federal income tax returns if you want to. That's completely up to you on whether you want to do that. Specified business interests, this is what I was saying we were going to come back to. These are specific sorts of businesses that they want you to disclose if you have an interest in. It's going to be mortgage companies, credit unions. Again, that's an exhaustive list. It's a very limited number of companies that are going to be, types of companies that are going to be subject to specified interests. And then we get into the conversation that has kind of been relevant and prevalent in all of our cities in terms of disclosing customer information. If you own more than 5% of the business, your income's more than $1,000 from that business, and you have a customer that's contributed to 10% of your business's gross income, you have to disclose their name and their address.
You have to disclose the amount?
I don't believe that it asks. I'd have to look, hold on, let me go back on the part of the form. No, just there, it's that bottom part, the
Business entity, major source of business income, address, principal business activity of source.
That's all you're going to have, that's all that form is going to require you to disclose. We had a conversation with the Florida Commission on Ethics attorney we have a couple of attorneys sitting as commissioners, and the question's becoming, how do I not breach my confidentiality of maintaining my clients' confidentiality versus disclosing this? And he laughed and he said, it's crazy you say that. We've had legislatures and county commissioners filling this form out forever, and it's never come up. And as soon as we had to delegate it as soon as that bill came through that made local governments have to do this as well, it's all of a sudden come up as a big issue. So there's talk about amending it to provide a carve-out for attorneys and different occupations that require confidentiality. They're working on that, but it's not really applicable for you right now. Again, you're going to be required to submit your 4 hours and, certify on your form that you have done that. So you're going to file electronically, and you're going to use a verification form or print to qualify. And then if you have questions, there's the phone number. Like I said, they're really nice folks, very, very helpful. I know there's been a lot of questions. You're going to have questions about you personally, and they're going to be your best bet on who to reach out to for specifics. And that's 30 pages.
24/7?
No, they are Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. It's either 8:30 to 5:30 or 8 to 5. 8 to 5. I know.
Yeah, they actually answer the phone.
They do, and he's very right. They do actually answer the phone.
Dreams, they want those too.
Did you not see the slide where I definitely hit that slide where you got to report the dreams?
I guess one of my questions is, I'm not clear, what's the logic and thinking behind eliminating our clerk and our attorney from helping us make sure we do this correctly?
I don't know, to be honest with you. I'm just going to be candid with you and tell you that I don't know.
Because that to me seems like the gap. I mean, this seems like it's ready-made for one of us to make a mistake and then for enemies to say, oh, well, you didn't fill that form out, right? I went over to your house and you've got 2 tractors and you didn't only put 1 tractor on there, or whatever it is. So
I don't know what the rationale is, but I know that I've been told it. I think Judy has heard it personally, and Janine as well, that we've pretty much been expressly forbidden from helping you all fill out these forms. I don't know why.
Because, I know that the public perception is that all politicians are millionaires and we're making a lot of money, but, and I mean, I make millions as a teacher, but not as a mayor. But,
Don't forget corrupt.
Yeah. But,
That's a given, right?
In my mind, if I wanted to make sure that I did this right, I would probably have to go out and spend $2,000-$3,000 on a CPA to review it for me. Well, that's like 33% of what we're paid to do up here. So that's my concern, right? Somebody is going to do a public records request on all of us once we file these. They're going to look at it. They're going to find what we've done wrong. And then they're coming after us. They're coming after the city.
Do the public records request because it'll be public.
Right.
It's going to be on the website.
Right. So, I mean, who do they, so it's a mistake. It's us as the person that now someone is suing, not the city for not doing the back checking?
My understanding would be
The Commission on Ethics, is that what you're saying?
the grievance would go to the,
Commission on Ethics, and then they decide whether that was a mistake or that was intentional.
just, it gives the person that is being fined about something that they have done or didn't do, opportunity to submit
Whatever.
Now, I do not know how the process, but I know I've had complaints, and they went to
And just to reiterate, because this has been the thing that has caused a lot of the consternation. You're saying that I can lump all my household stuff together. I don't have to list out every gold bar that I own, every piece of silver, every gun that I have, and say I have this with a value next to it. I can say household goods X.
There's language in the statute, and I can give you the exact language, because it's a list of examples of what's going to qualify as a household good. But guns is one of them, because that was something that was asked of, am I going to have to disclose every gun I own? And that is in the household goods listing. I'm happy to circulate that to you, all of you, so that you know what's going to qualify as a household good.
read the paragraph right here?
Oh, yeah.
Come on, what are you reading?
Janine Marinack, Assistant to the City Clerk. The first paragraph under assets, household goods and personal effects may be reported in a lump sum if their aggregate value exceeds $1,000. This category includes any of the following, if not held for investment purposes: jewelry, collections of stamps, guns and numismatic items, art objects, household equipment and furnishings, clothing, other household items, and vehicles for personal use, whether owned or leased.
So items that are not held for investment value is interpretative. And you have to list it if it's for investment.
Individually by it. You can't lump it in.
I don't have any investment.
Then it,
Nothing invested.
It's all household items.
All right.
It's crazy, but it is what it is.
I mean, my comment is more towards the commission here, because I mean, some of you may have CPAs. I'm not grown up enough yet to have a CPA or a lawyer as my own, right? And this to me seems like it is a setup to then create a whole lot of complaints, accusations, litigation moving forward, right? So I think is a good idea to hire somebody to help us look at this, but I still don't understand why we can't use the people that we're already paying to make sure that we do things right. So,
Probably because they'll be held liable themselves.
yeah, but it's like a circular argument, right? Like I would turn to my attorney and say, hey, look at this, did I do this right?
Because it's more, you're filing it more in a personal
Turn your
capacity.
microphone.
It's my understanding that you're filing this more in a personal capacity and using the assets of the city are a quasi-conflict there.
Just fill it out the best you can and rock and roll with it.
I mean, I know that's what we're all gonna do, but it also seems to me that it's on us to make sure that we try to keep the city out of as much trouble as we can. And these things, they'll come after us, but it's gonna take staff time. They're gonna be researching it. They're gonna be doing all these kinds of things. So
Here's what's funny to me. So they're going to do what can they do? They're going to do a personal audit? Are they going to go in there and do some kind of, what is that called? To audit everything that you got to see? Yeah, a forensic audit to see if it adds up, what's right or wrong. You know what I'm saying? It's ridiculous. Just do it the best you can.
So I'll come and have you look over mine. You're more of the math guy anyway.
I don't know what you're talking about, man.
Yeah.
That's personal, man. I don't want to know your personal business.
Well, everybody's gonna know it. The whole world's gonna know it.
I don't want to know that.
Any other questions? Now's our opportunity.
This is ridiculous. But the point you were making, I mean, the little bit of money we make by sitting up here, and you go and get an audited financial statement done for yourself. I mean, you can pay up to about $5,000 with my CPA.
Yeah.
It ain't cheap at all.
Yeah.
That's
Once we do it the first time, we basically can resubmit the same document plus anything that you have added so it's the first one that is going to be so time consuming, right? Where you have to walk around and figure out, all right, how much am I worth, right?
Is that such that it saves every year online?
I understand.
It does?
So, as long as you're in office.
You just have to update it, so if you pay off your house and you don't have a mortgage anymore, you change that, or you take a different job, you change that. But the assets, only the assets for investment value would stay the same. Everything else would stay the same, right?
You should be able to look at yours for every year that you file that.
And copy and paste.
Oh, yeah, that's what I read in some part of it.
But you got to put the estimated value of your assets.
Yeah.
No, you can't
That
just
won't
say
take long for me.
over
I'm a
$1,000.
teacher. So, I got one thing that's over $1,000.
Yeah, but you're Marlowe.
Shh.
How about that tractor in front of your yard?
That belongs to my daughter.
How
Yeah.
convenient.
I'm putting everything in my children's name right now.
I'm marrying this woman from the Philippines. Everything's going to be going in her name.
Oh, and she lives at a bank deposit box. Yeah. All right, is everybody more comfortable at this point with, I know that this has caused resignations in other cities.
Keep in mind,
Mr.
too, that
Mayor.
as we get more information, we'll happily share it with you all. We're just trying to get you what we know right now. And I imagine as other cities ask questions that we haven't thought of, it'll come up, it'll come to the forefront, and I'll happily bring that information to you all.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I'll say, I don't think it's as bad as it was portrayed.
Right.
It was sent out to us, and the 3 forms I looked at were, it is public record, that's the only thing about it, but it is what it is at that point. But the 3 I looked at, it really ain't an in-depth form to fill out. Unless you got a lot of stuff, you just got to list it. And, I was actually going to resign. And I said if it was itemized, I was done. But it ain't, so you can lump stuff together in your household and, only because it's public information. So, but it's not as bad as what it is portrayed to be.
Well, I'm glad to let you 3 go through it the first time, and then
I'm gonna do
we'll
mine.
figure it out.
The thing about it is I like some of this stuff, like the farm is sub S. And it being a sub S corporation, you can say, hey, I actually really don't own it. It's owned by the corporation, but you don't have to.
All right. Commissioner Farnsworth?
Yeah, I listened to the presentation that
video.
that Judy had sent out. And, I was like Mark, I was like,
It's not as bad. Yeah.
yeah, it's not bad, so.
All right. Madam Clerk.
I was just gonna say, sponsor of municipal election. I've always found, and through the years, we've had some situations. I've always, thought that they dealt, and like I said, my understanding, you would be the opportunity to respond. Will, help you, whatever the cure is, or whatever. I have not spoken with him about this, and I don't want to say too much. I don't want to lead anyone, but I'm saying other times, regarding other things, I've always found them to be fair.
Any last questions, comments?
Thank you, gentlemen.
All, we appreciate the assistance. That's going to move us to citizen comments, right? Citizen comments. Mr. Manager?
Citizen comments, I'm sorry, Mr.
No, yeah, not
I am
yet.
a citizen, though.
Yeah.
Caught me off guard, and I'm going to apologize ahead of time. My list is a little bit lengthy. I'll try to get through it quickly, though. I wanted to express appreciation to our staff and the Newberry public for the turnout for the Publix groundbreaking. That event last Thursday was one of the best events that Newberry's put together, and Travis and his team and Randa really put that together, but we got a ton of support from the Chamber of Commerce and Main Street and getting the word out. Really well attended, and the contingency from Publix, one of them got emotional speaking about it. She said she came to work with a bad attitude. It had been a tough new year for the first week, and she said that completely changed her perspective, that's why Publix does what it does, is to have that type of appreciation. So I just got so much positive feedback. I wanted to share that with the commission and the public. We got bad weather event headed here tomorrow. It's not quite hurricane weather, and city offices will be open normal for business, but our team spent some time getting themselves prepared today. We expect some power outages and maybe some localized water across the road type of thing, but we'll respond to it and try to make sure that we don't have any extended issues going on. But with that, I want to remind the commission and the community that we're having our annual Martin Luther King Day celebration on Monday, the 15th. Begins at 11. We'll be meeting at the fire department and marching over to the municipal building for the program. And so encourage you all to attend, encourage our public to attend. It'll be a really nice event this year. That's something we do in partnership with the concerned citizens of Newberry. The Florida Public Utilities Corporation is beginning construction this week on natural gas facilities in Newberry. First little bit is some pipeline work down Northwest 3rd going over to their offices on State Road 45, and then they'll start working on getting Newberry Oaks and Newtown 1895 connected in subsequent phases. Mr. Mayor, City Hall will be closed in observance of Martin Luther King Day next Monday. We'll adjust solid waste pickup accordingly, like we always do. The week of January the 22nd, Accel will be in town. They're the consultant that we selected to perform, to develop the business plan for the Ag Tech Center. The funding came through a grant, or actually it came through 2 grants. So they'll be developing that business plan for the city by May, and it'll come before the board for adoption. But he's going to be doing a lot of the legwork in town next week, and it may result in meetings with the city commission individually to kind of get their perspectives, their vision of the Ag Tech Park. I will mostly be out of the office this week. I'm in the office at work, but mostly tied up in training. So if you need anything, feel free to call, leave a message. I'll have enough breaks during the day. I'll be happy to get back with you and make sure we're looking into things. City of Archer is hearing our wastewater interlocal proposed agreement tonight. Hadn't got any update on what the score is, but the thought was they were going to get it across the finish line. Felt like we had addressed all of their issues between the meetings. So as soon as we hear something, we'll pass it along. If they don't get it across the finish line tonight, we've asked them to hold a special meeting later in the month. And if they have any more questions of us and expectations, we'll probably just scoot over to that meeting and a reminder, we'll send out invitations. The State of the City is scheduled for February the 15th in the evening. We're going to kick it off with the Taste of the City. And we have 4 new restaurants in town. So Taste of the City is a big highlight every year, but I think it's going to be a really big highlight because we're going to try to feature some of the new tastes of the city. FPUC wants to do a natural gas neighborhood meeting. That is looking like it will be in the 3rd week of February. We'll have it in the municipal building and just give the community an opportunity to come in, ask questions. Is it mandatory? How do I transition from LP to natural gas? Will it save me money? All those things. The week of January the 8th is, of the 52 weeks of the year, is apparently the week that has the most prestigious birthdays. And I want to kick it off on January the 8th by wishing Commissioner Monty Farnsworth happy birthday. I know that. It's the week up. That's why I said that. There are other great birthdays during the week of January the 8th. I'll just mention that to the team.
Elvis was born today.
Dude, so is my brother. Today's my brother's birthday. My brother? I'm not sure.
Tomorrow's Richard Nixon.
Okay. Apparently he is. So last announcement, we gave out, or I provided some handouts. The one that I'll call your attention to is this pre-session. This has to do with the 2024 legislative session. And the last agenda item that we discussed about the Form 6, I just want you to know that thing shows up in this and has showed up in this for the last 4 or 5 years. And we haven't said much about it. No one's picked up the phone and said, how dare you, don't do it. We just didn't see it coming. But it might warrant, when we get these reports going through, our consultant has done a really good job of identifying what your asks are in terms of some legislative appropriations that we put in there. We've given them your legislative agenda, but also identifying 20 pages worth of bills that municipalities want to keep an eye on. I encourage you to kind of scan through it. Some ones that I noted or there's a bill on agritourism that's like, hey, right down our alley because we are all about agritourism. But that bill would limit your ability to regulate agritourism. So, and an example of that will be if you are going to be a wood processing facility like Southern Fuel Wood, we want you to be there. But per our LDRs, you have to come in and get a special exception permit from the City Commission that provides us with some conditions on their work. We've got another one that's having dialogue with us about getting discussion. If this bill gets passed, you will not have the ability to do that. They'll say we are ag, hands off, City of Newberry, we answer to the state and to the state only. So knowing our board and the concerns that have been raised, I think that's probably one that we'd like to make a phone call and advocate for our commission that, hey, don't tie our hands too much because they're on our gateways and we want to have enough regulation to make sure that they don't make our gateways unsightly or whatever you think on that. There's another bill in here, and I won't highlight them all, but I just thought was worth, it has to do with municipal water and sewer rates.
I'm looking at it right here.
And it limits the board's ability for us to charge a surcharge to our out-of-city customers. So if we extend a water main, say, to an unincorporated area because their water is contaminated, today you can charge up to 25% above in a surcharge. and that's about to be gone. I'll give you three guesses as to which utility has motivated the legislature to take a really hard look at this. So I think that you guys, when you adopt a franchise fee, you adopt a 5% franchise fee because you don't want to harm anybody. And that's how you approach legislation. But this would also require us to undergo a very expensive process for determining, for getting a rate analysis every 7 years. We don't do that. We utilize a different technique, but our rates are competitive and we're good with that, and it saves our ratepayers money not to do it. So just not to dig into it too much, but just to highlight some things that could be problematic, we're going to let you know by email, and we're going to ask you to advocate on behalf of the ratepayers and the taxpayers of the city of Newberry from time to time. Mr. Mayor, that concludes my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate it. Madam Attorney, do you have any comments?
I do not.
All right, thank you. Madam Clerk?
I do. Actually, I just.
Will you, Commissioner Coleman, will you put the mic over there?
Sure.
The folks watching at home are having a hard time hearing Miss Judy.
She don't talk about it.
It'll carry her. That's good right there.
I just wanted to express my thanks to our legal staff, specifically Attorney Danielle Adams, and to Janine Mirnack and the city clerk's office. We have spent a lot of time in researching this Form 6 and going through all the different statements that have been made by different entities to make sure that we delivered a message that would be helpful and clarify some things tonight. So I just want to say to both of them, because we all work hand in hand, and there was a lot of time put into it. So thank you very much.
Well,
And
we
happy
appreciate
birthday,
that.
Mommy.
It was giving a lot of folks indigestion. Commissioner Coleman?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to transfer my time to the Honorable Monty Farnsworth when he comes up.
All right. That sounds good. Commissioner Clark?
Nothing, just, I know we're getting over the holidays. I will say that, the Christmas that, Tony, the giveaway went well. There are some things we could clean up on that end. I think we all know, what went on down there. So, you know, there's a lot going on in the world. We've got a lot of service members deployed around the world. So God bless our troops and, you know, hope they come home safe.
Absolutely. Commissioner Farnsworth?
Like I did want to ask about the natural gas. Do we have franchise fees in place for them?
Yes, sir, we do, because we were forward-thinking, and when I say we, I mean the city commission was forward-thinking. They asked us to get franchise agreements put in place, I think, 7 years ago. So we didn't know it'd take 7 years for the first one to roll into town, but they're here, and we have a franchise agreement in place.
Is it just a flat fee, or is it one that increases over the years, or?
It's a percentage of total bill.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I have.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Farnsworth. Commissioner Martin? Commissioner Mazon?
Yes. MLK, they'll be marching from the Martin Luther King Center, just as a correction. I thought I heard fired up. Okay, so from the Martin Luther King Center at 11 o'clock, and they'll be making their way down.
March starts at 11:30. So
March
start getting there at 11 because we like to take some pictures.
Okay.
March at
And it ends up
11:30.
at the municipal building. Now, our vice president for downtown, Gail Watson and Remy Wallace, they're in Tallahassee right now at the Capitol, where they'll be there tomorrow speaking, representing Newberry, and telling them all about showing them what's going on with Newberry programs. And also Saturday, February 3rd, good job, Francis, on this, the Blues and Barbecue Festival will be going on, and I'm excited about that one. To be honest with you, that should be really nice for our downtown festivities. And I think that's what. Actually, I got a little known fact. Any animals that if I can get this right, lays eggs don't have belly buttons. Yeah, and that's. That's all I have right there, Bubba. They lay eggs, they don't have belly buttons. That's it. Check that one out, Bubba.
Wisdom.
Come back to me later on that.
Wisdom, baby.
But wisdom.
I can't top that. I can't. We're all going to walk out of here with that's going to be the only thing we remember from tonight. I did want to announce that Monday, January 22nd through Friday, February 2nd, the Alachua County Property Appraiser's Office will have a pop-up in the Menthol Norfleet Municipal Building. They're going to assist with property appraisal questions, including homestead exemption, free property watch enrollment, and other exemption criteria, including agricultural classifications. So January 22nd through Friday, February 2nd, right here in our municipal building. They'll come out. If you got any questions, awesome time to not have to travel downtown and find that out. I also wanted to say that we've set a joint meeting with the Alachua County for May 13th at 7 p.m. If you have anything that you want on the agenda for us to talk to about with Alachua County, we need to have that before April 30th. I would say from past experience, it should be no more than like 3 agenda items. I mean, and I think, Mike, we want to cut out presentations because there's generally one that takes us about 2 hours. And if we have 2 or 3 or 4 more and then presentations ahead of that, so maybe we get one presentation, they get one presentation, and then 2 agenda items. So anything that you think that you want to talk to about with the county, submit it, tell me, tell Mike, we'll make sure it's on the agenda. But we need those ideas before April 30th. So we'll arrange to send out a calendar invite for, it's a regular scheduled commission meeting night, I think. We'll just swap it for a joint meeting night for May 13th. May 13th.
May 13th.
All right. We talked about MLK on Monday and the Blues and Barbecue, so we're hitting it. Looking forward to a great year with you guys coming up. What did I forget, Miss Judy? That's what you just said. May 13th, 7 p.m., joint meeting. Seems like I had one other thing, but let's do public comment. Somebody say something, buy me some time to remember it. Nope. Hearing nothing, we are adjourned. Did you find the belly button thing?
Yeah.